Thank you so much, Matt. Of course, the creative director, PlanetSide 2. And really excited to have him here at the MLG event again. If you want to go talk to him, he's over at the PlanetSide 2 booth. Awesome stuff there.
He has unfortunately picked the wrong empire, which I tend to find is a bit of a problem. Sometimes, every now and again, someone makes the wrong choice, i.e. something that's not Terran Republic, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I guess we can let it slide, considering he made the game. But you would think someone that made the game would know a little better.
All right, PlanetSide 2, you're about to see it on your screen, and I think we're going to be able to watch some awesome gameplay, of course. We've talked a bunch about this game. I know a lot of people watching this haven't necessarily been able to see it, so now we're going to be able to see plenty of awesome gameplay from this, honestly, beautiful game.
Yeah, it really is kind of gorgeous, which is surprising considering the scale of it. You'd think that if something was this big, they'd have to really cut back in a lot of different areas, but they've actually made a game that's pretty impressive. Their engine, by the way, goes by the name of Forge Light. It's really quite fantastic. So what you're seeing here is a developer-only observer camera, which allows you to see the battlefield from an aerial perspective. The only other way you're going to get the battlefield from an aerial perspective is, of course, if you're in a plane, and in that situation, chances are you're getting shot at as well, so you might not have time to admire the scenery. Now, they're around a Terran Republic-owned and rightfully so biolab over there, and we've got a little bit of a skirmish going on the ground here. As you can see, everything looks like ants from up there, but if you get in a little bit closer, you'll see that you have new conglomerate troops in the blue and yellow. Those are the guys that we saw in the faction intro. Talk about utilitarian weapons. Their weapons do hit pretty hard, and they're considered the rebel faction. They also have rock music, so if you're into that, they are the soundtrack for you. Each of the factions does have a different one. The Vanu Sovereignty are also here as well. You'll actually notice that thing that looks like a bit of a purple crab right there is actually the Vanu Max unit, which is an exoskeleton suit with double arm-mounted weaponry, which can be customized. So if you want something that does really well against vehicles, pick the anti-vehicle weapon. And you can mix and match too. So you could have a dedicated anti-infantry max, or you could have one arm with anti-infantry, one arm anti-vehicle, one arm anti-air, so on and so forth. We've got an NC Lightning tank, which is a light one-man tank that is having a really bad day right now.
He's got a lot of people coming at him, doesn't he?
Yeah, thankfully he's not being shot at by anything that's really going to hit him from that range.
Sure.
I'm noticing Lasher Fire coming in, which is one of the heavy weapons of the Vanu Sovereignty. He should be able to get out of there without too much of a problem, but there is a concerted Vanu Sovereignty push in this general direction, and what we often see in PlanetSide 2, a three-way skirmish. That was a Terran-owned biolab, and yet there's smaller facilities around this area actually owned by the new conglomerate.
Yeah, every one of these teams trying to capture this this area and obtain those objectives. Of course, we can see all these players working together. I mean, I was trying to count the number of members here on the Vanu Sovereignty.
There's quite a few. This
like
is a
12
smaller
to 15,
battle.
But still, it can be massive in comparison to these other games where you're only seeing the 5v5. And again, so much flexibility here. You get so much terrain on the map to work with. We see them, trying to take cover behind this rock and trying to potentially flank around the right-hand side, maybe go around the left-hand side, just trying to minimize themselves, staying behind this rock so they're guarded from their enemy shots.
So there's a Sunderer right there. Now, what is a Sunderer? This is actually kind of a key linchpin battlefield vehicle. It can be deployed and used as a mobile spawn point as well as a rearm area. That's owned by the new conglomerate. Right now, the Vanu Sovereignty are trying to assault it. That's a really tough vehicle. That can take hits like a tank. Yeah. It basically is a tank. You can mount cannons to the top of that thing. It's affectionately known as the battle bus, and you can also transport up to an entire squad in that thing, 12 people, which includes max units, by the way. So the NC want to hold on to that. If they lose it, then they lose that spawn point, and this is a game about logistics. If you don't have an ability to get troops, feed in fresh troops to the battlefield, then you're not going to be able to achieve anything. The Vanu attack on that has clearly failed. It's difficult to take a Sunderer out with constantly respawning enemy units trying to kill you. And the NC are now making a concerted push across this open field to try and drive the Vanu back to whatever spawn point they have, which could be an outlying facility around this biolab, or it could be a Sunderer or maybe several Sunderers deployed around the area. As you can also see, the NC are utilizing the medic, which will allow them to revive fallen units as well as heal. They have a healing aura. They actually can unlock things called revive grenades, which can be thrown into the middle of a fight and revive large numbers of units, which is quite a potent weapon. Yeah,
I mean, for you StarCraft players, I mean, you might be relatively aware of the medic. Of course, it is a unit in StarCraft 2, not actually in competitive play, but at least in the campaign. And like Team Fortress, like all these different games have this mechanic. So a very, very familiar utility there. Of course, I think that's Jimmy Wizenhunt. We can see a first-person view from his screen in his
he's one of
view.
He deals with a lot of weapon balance. He is ex-Counter-Strike pro as well as a caster. He is pretty much an expert in this regard. And as a direct result, he's picked pretty much the most powerful thing you can get as the new conglomerate, which is a dual scatter max by the looks of it. Could be the hacksaw variant. There's a lot of weapon customization in this game, which makes it a little tricky to figure out exactly what he's using. He's trying to avoid that Terran Republic Prowler tank that almost killed him. He's running as fast
right over there on the right.
That's it right there. He's taking a bit of fire here and there, but I'm not sure if he survived that. He did. He's up, he's off. There we go. Grabbing himself. Nicely played there.
Feet are dangling a little bit there.
Yeah, he's using basically the elevator to get on the top of here. And this is the biolab we showed earlier. Yeah, that wasn't just a piece of scenery.
No.
This is a base that you can assault. This entire base is open. It's fully mapped. And this is where the capture points are. Oh, that was devastating. A rocket barrage actually ended up hitting the max, but it's a max unit. It can survive that kind of thing.
Yep.
And he's actually going to push all the way in. This is the key environment for this guy. Now, when I talk about a scatter max, I'm basically talking about dual-barreled, rapid-fire, arm-mounted shotguns. And they do exactly what you would think to anything close by. Oh, he's finally taken down after slaughtering a number of units on his own. Yeah. The problem with max units is that they gradually get worn down. They need to be repaired. And if he doesn't have anyone supporting him, we said it before, it's a team game.
He went alone in there, it seemed like.
Yeah, because he's crazy. Yeah. But, he's in a max unit.
I think he can hear us, maybe.
It's totally fine. That's cool with that. I mean, I know he doesn't usually play NC. He's actually a loyal Terran Republic soldier, so what are you going to say for yourself? How do you manage that?
Which part did I manage? What do you mean? Which part?
Well, it was the part where you got gunned down embarrassingly with no team support. How did that go for you?
My team wasn't following me. I mean, obviously, I'm just playing the wrong faction. They're not following me. It's basically, I think, what's coming down to.
How embarrassing.
Totally understandable, and we thank you for your sacrifice and your infiltration into the dirty NC ranks that's clearly going on there. Awesome. But, I mean, to be fair, the environment he was in was a good environment for that particular unit, right? This game has a variety of different classes available.
It's really cool. I mean, we're already seeing differences between environments within the game itself. Like, first we started off with a firefight on the plains. You're using rock as cover. But then we're transitioning inside the biolab. As you said, you got this close quarter areas, lots of walls you can potentially hide behind, lots of corners you got to worry about. And it really shows the dynamic aspect of PlanetSide 2 and how many different situations you can find yourself in.
Yeah, and this is something that actually a lot of FPS players are going to have to get used to. And think about playing Counter-Strike. When you load into DDoS 2, you know exactly what to expect, right? So you've got a particular strategy, and you know... Whoa, there we go. Yes, we do have those. Basically, these are energy catapults that are a quick way to get to and from larger areas. So you don't necessarily need to worry too much about transport around these places, so that's pretty good. Anyway, the point is that on a map like a DDoS, you would know what you're going to do, right? But here, you're going to have to know exactly how to handle different battlefield environments because you're going to find yourself in them. There we go. Terran Republic cleaning up the rebel scum on the landing platform. Always nice to see right there. And that should be a fairly successful defense, I think, for the TR.
Look at the scenery. I mean, what other game are you going to see?
Kind of pretty, isn't it?
It's absolutely phenomenal. Like, if someone's just now tuning in, it's like, oh my gosh, is this real? No, it is a video game. You can actually go play it right now. PlanetSide2.com, absolutely free to play.
Yep, you can also download it on Steam. So if you prefer to have your games on Steam, that's totally cool too. That also allows Steam Wallet funding for the in-game microtransactions and things like that, so that's always good. Actually following a new conglomerate Reaver, which is being shot at by a Terran Republic Mosquito. Aircraft and dogfighting is very much a thing in this game.
Don't run into that cliff, man.
Oh, he's doing a good job actually maneuvering around there. You'll notice that planes are highly maneuverable. There's actually quite a high skill cap involved in flying in this game. First time you get in a plane, you're probably going to die in about 3 seconds. Oh, that was nice. Those were actually air-to-ground rockets he was using there, but I guess the dumbfire approach works pretty well too. That guy is down for the count.
I mean, this is just more examples of how dynamic this game is. Again, we started that field, then we went into this this close quarter area where you're trying to take,
But now there's an air battle going on.
And now we're in the air. We're in airplanes. We're in these are air battles going on. Of course, there's ground vehicle battles as well. So many dynamic
and it's all part of the same battle as well. I mean, we're just right back at the biolab here. Those planes were just far away there, and then there's this other battle going on at the bottom there. They're trying to push their way through, gain access to the force fielded areas so that they can secure the bottom of the biolab, which is where you will find a capture point, and then you'll need to try and force your way up. There's a couple of different ways to assault bases like this, one of the most common being what we saw earlier, using the jump pads and the elevators to actually gain access to the landing zone. You could also utilize something like the Galaxy Dropship, which is this giant plane, which will actually have an entire squad in it, and you can drop them from any height that will survive, and it's like dropping an entire squad of paratroopers. But you could get 10 of those and fill them all with players and drop 120 people on it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating stuff, and we see you know, action going on everywhere on the screen. You know, we see the nice shot of the sun in the back. We got Blu-rays flashing everywhere.
Alex, you guys going to be able to you guys going to be able to crack this biolab anytime soon? What's going on? It's taking me a while.
Yeah, man, these are some pretty mean people. They just don't want to let us take this biolab. It's just a simple biolab. Why can't they let us have it? You know, it would be really nice, but no, instead they want to be all mean. Typical TR, typical TotalBiscuit faction.
Seems like a lot of explosions happening on that. That kind of means that there's a lot of action. Seems like a pretty big fight. Do you guys think you're actually going to be able to take it, or is this never going to happen?
Well, we got a few people in the warp room. You can see that the enemy activity is pretty heavy in this area, so I'm expecting a lot of activity inside of the warp room where we are right now, trying to push our way out of there, which has been quite the battle so far.
Cool, thanks. Back to you guys.
And that's often what happens in a game like this. You could play for hours just fighting over a single base, or you could take an entire continent in that time, depending just on how the battle flows. And if you don't want to be involved in those battles, as we said before, you can just go and find another one. Or start your own.
If you're there or not, you can jump in at any time. It's ongoing.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, isn't it? That you're not used to in a lot of games. Right. The persistent aspect of it. It's a case of you log off, you log back on, the same battle might still be happening 3 hours later, but it's changed a bit. And what you've done in that battle has, in some small way, actually shaped the world in that's pretty cool. You know, that's a cool idea, instead of just having a 15-minute map reset every time.
I mean, anything you see, you literally have access to. If you see a big mountain off in the distance, you could probably climb it. You know, I was playing, you know, I think last week, and I found myself on a huge, you know, U-shaped rock, and I just kept going up and up and up, and then I found myself trapped, but I was just looking everywhere, and it's like, this scenery is amazing. The attention placed to detail in this game truly is fascinating. It really feels like you're there. Of course, you got to put the headset on. You got to just lose yourself in the environment. It's truly an awesome experience.
Oh, the sound assets are actually really good in this game, and having good speakers or a good headset is always nice. Obviously, it helps you identify anyone that's shooting at you, giving you that directional sound. But if you enjoy the sounds of war, and you enjoy bullets whizzing past you, tank explosions, things like that, then the game does have that in spades. I was currently watching Jimmy with one of the Rebel weapons. As you can see, it looks like a box, because they're not very advanced, those guys on the new conglomerate. They basically steal anything they can. So, but it's still a fairly effective, if crude, weapon. Throws forward a grenade right there to try and clear the room up, but just trying to sweep and clear as you can here.
Yeah, you got to be careful with this. You can see there's plenty of teammates around him, or so it seems. He's not going to pursue an enemy. I can't tell who it is.
Yep, that looks like Terran Republic soldiers trying to gun down there. He's actually using an IR scope.
Oh,
and fails miserably.
Can we watch someone else? He's kind of bad.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Jimmy right here. I understand you're not really experienced with the really bad guns. We have the best faction, so I know you play with us a lot, but what's going on, man?
I got no excuse, I'll be honest. I don't know. Should we stick to watching Golden Boy? It seemed like he was actually managing to shoot people successfully. Would that be more interesting? Yeah, I mean, you figure with ScatMax I'd be able to do something, but I don't know what's wrong with me.
Stick with your team, man. Stick with your team. Awesome.
It's probably the best way to do it. You get 20 or 30 people in front of you to take the bullets for you. Yeah. That's always great. You just go clean it up.
I got my sniper in the back. I'm waiting for my teammates to run out there and draw their fire, and then I know where my enemy is and snipe them in the head. Boom.
Now we've actually switched over here to an entirely different view. As you'll notice, things look a little different down here, don't they? This doesn't look like the verdant fields of Amaresh that we saw earlier. This is Indar. This is the barren wasteland continent that for some reason we all wish to own. Almost had one of the Vanu sites crashing into the ground right there. And this is going to once again be, it's kind of going back and forth here. We've got Vanu Mag Riders, that's the main battle tanks moving out en masse. And New Conglomerate Drop Pod is about to have a very bad day.
Probably not where you want to drop there.
This is typical New Conglomerate tactics. It's to be expected. They don't really know what they're doing. So you'll see that happen every now and again. Needless to say, he gets obliterated by a Mag Rider. There's multiple tanks actually rolling out of that base there in order to try and gain control of the ground.
Yeah, just look at the scope of this area. I mean, there's going to be action going on everywhere. Of course, you know, if you're initially just starting, if you find yourself in a place that, you know, nothing much is going on, I mean, the map features are fantastic for that. You're able to find the locations with the most concentration of enemies, with the most concentration of firepower, and you can inject yourself right into the action. Of course, we don't suggest putting yourself right there, but maybe a little bit further off.
Not like the NC guy,
right?
No. That's probably. Let's just say you're going to have a very quick visit to the respawn tubes and learn rapidly about the updates to the respawn mechanics in Game Update 4.
Yeah.
It's not the best of ideas. But as we said, the map and the respawn menu has actually recently been changed. Down goes a scythe. Always nice to see. Yeah. But they've recently been changed so that the map and the respawn menu have been combined, which gives you a better overall view of the continent. It can be a little daunting to see this huge map. It's like, where am I supposed to be? Yeah. And thankfully now you can just look at the map. It's like, oh, here's a hot spot. There's clearly something going on here. Where's the nearest respawn? Oh, I can see that on the map. I'm going to spawn here, and this is where I'm going to fight from. And then it's like, oh, that was a bad idea. Let's not do that. Then you can change around. Vanguard engaging up against the Mag Rider here. He actually enables a shield, his special ability. We're just going to give him a little more durability. Admittedly, the Mag Rider waits for the shield to go off and actually finishes him. And you'll notice the Mag Rider strafed to the side to avoid that tank fire. So a nice little maneuver there. And as we bring you over the walls, you will see a facility, a large, recently updated facility with some better defended areas that you can spawn in. There are multiple objectives here, such as generators. Take down a generator, that shield you saw in the corner goes down. That means vehicles can actually get inside. That one's just been fixed up by the looks of it. That's what a generator looks like. You go in there, you can essentially sabotage it. It takes about a minute to break the generator. At any point during that, the other faction come off and take it back. So that's a little sub-objective that you've got to do. And it makes it a lot easier for you to then go and take a base. There's multiple shield generators to take down. You then make your way into the base and you try and actually capture the main control console.
Yeah, I actually want to ask Matt a question, if that's possible. You know, when building all of these objectives, you know, what kind of went into that? If a player was to jump into the game, you know, what would these objectives be?
Well, we try to make different kinds of objectives to basically support different kinds of play style. So if you like playing an engineer in base defense, you're going to be able to go and repair generators, repair vehicles, really play that support role like that. But if you're like a light assault character, you really want to be that agile commando type. You're going to be able to jump over the walls and detonate those generators earlier. So there's lots of different objectives, basically to try to give every different kind of play style an important role to play while trying to capture and while trying to defend different territories throughout the map.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Matt, for that insight there. So let's talk a little bit about the different continents, because we didn't really get a chance to kind of explain what happened. You're suddenly seeing, you saw this awesome verdant field of Amaresh, which is where they were, and then suddenly, oh, well, this doesn't look like a good holiday location, does it? That was Indar, which is, of course, a war-torn battlefield very much. And switching between those continents is something that you can kind of do at will. In your faction safe zone, which goes by the name of the Warp Gate, you'll be able to switch over to whichever continent you so desire. Now, the thing about continents is that factions can kind of own them. They can take them over. If they do that, they gain a bonus, which they will maintain until they lose that continent control once again. And that could mean that you end up on a continent and suddenly, oh, 95% of the facilities are owned by the other faction. That's often a good place to start a fight if you're looking for one.
If you're looking for immediate action, obviously if it's nearly 100% controlled by a different empire, then that's a good place to go to try to get yourself in the action.
It depends. If the continent has been owned for quite some time by another faction, then there may not be anyone there because obviously there's no one to fight. Right. But in a continent where there's, say, a lot of resistance, that's what you ought to be looking for. If you're looking for a target-rich environment. But if you want to start a fight, especially with your outfit, find a continent that's owned and start taking it back. Get yourself a beachhead and start to work your way out from the Warp Gate. Start to take facilities. Oh, and soon enough, the other faction will notice, and they will come and try and handle you and push you right back to your Warp Gate. So the other continent that we haven't seen yet is Ezimir. It is a frozen continent, a lot of snow, pretty flat, Very, very nice for tank warfare. We see a lot of large armor engagements on that battle, and we should be able to show you that any moment now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, further elaborating on the amount of options you have with PlanetSide 2. I mean, if you're simply bored with the scenery, which is kind of impossible, and you're kind of silly if that happens, you know, you have the option to switch continents. You know, you can choose your own gameplay essentially as far as what you're looking for as a gamer, as a first-person shooter. You know, what kind of environment you're after that you can literally choose in PlanetSide 2.
Well, you can. I mean, I know guys that only play on Indar because that's their particular playstyle. They prefer Indar. They know it back to front, which means they're just way better at it. If they know every inch of the terrain, which is pretty hard to do considering we're talking continent-sized stuff here. It's not just like a small FPS map. You've got to learn a lot if you want to know the terrain inside out. But there's guys there that know every little trick in the book. And as a direct result, they play really well. This is what Esamir looks like. Look at that. This is actually Esamir at night. Day-night cycle is featured in this game, and it will reduce your visibility. There are actual night vision scopes available in the game. It looks like we're going... It's either this is coming up to dawn here, or it's actually twilight. It's hard to say either way, but you'll notice the lighting effects are fairly striking on a map like this.
Look at that, jeez.
It's kind of pretty, isn't it? You know, Forge Light, the lighting effects of Forge Light are just absolutely fantastic. It's pretty rare to find an engine that does lighting this well, but in terms of their ambient lighting effects and the new tech that they're actually using, it's pretty phenomenal.
I mean, if you just want to just know what it's like to experience flying, that's something you could do with PlanetSide 2.
You'll be able to experience that for about 20 seconds before someone shoots you down. Yeah, it sounds about right. But if you learn to fly, then you'll be able to do even better in that regard. Tank moving on right here. And Jimmy is actually in, as you can see, a Reaver. This is an Empire-specific fighter. Each of the Empires has a different kind of fighter. The Reaver can take a few more hits, less rapid-fire weaponry. The actual general ideas and weapon designs of the factions are based around a couple of different ideologies, as was explained in the... Whoa. This Jimmy,
I can't tell if he's like really skilled or
Jimmy,
like really about to mess up.
What's wrong with you, Jimmy? I'm not impressed by this play
right here. Might have been on purpose, man.
Wow, his cockpit's on fire. He's in a lot of trouble. Oh, very fancy, yes, very fancy. And now he bails out and falls to his death. Splat.
Excellent work, James.
So, Jimmy, what was your strategy going into that engagement?
I kind of just wanted to blow a bunch of stuff up and start a fight there. And being in a Reaver by yourself against probably, I don't know, like 75 people just in turrets isn't a good idea. Just pro tip. Well, you definitely blew up that Reaver. Yeah, I don't like Reavers, so.
Congratulations, Jimmy. Yeah, that was a truly impressive display. Sunderer setup right here, as you can see. And guys just popping out of it. It is the clown car of PlanetSide 2. That's where you spawn all you guys, and you can continue to push forward. They're actually attacking an NC tower here. So this tower has air pads. You can actually spawn air vehicles there. You can also rearm air vehicles there. So it's a pretty important strategic objective. It's got spawn areas as well, outlying facilities. It's not a base. It's an outpost. It's a smaller facility. It's something that you can capture if you're looking for a foothold in a region or access to aircraft. You know, again, I've told you about logistics in this game.
Right.
The idea is, well, I need tanks here. How do I do that if I don't have a place where I can get them? So you want to try and take a place which allows you to get them. Or maybe you want air superiority. How do you gain air superiority if you can only bring in aircraft from 3 or 4 miles away? You want an area close by that you can do that. So that's why these towers are very lucrative and very juicy objectives.
Yeah, this is not a game you want to play while distracted. I mean, we saw Jimmy there dying a bunch of times. I'll leave that as an excuse for him. He's distracted. He's distracted. I mean, that's what's happening there.
He's playing NC. He's not used to it. I don't blame him.
I mean, it's just there's so much going on. If you like overextend just a little bit and you're not looking on your right hand flank or something, you could literally die. So again, you can see these guys are working together here on the right hand side, running together. Strength in numbers is a good rule to play when you're playing PlanetSide 2.
Certainly. Although there are disadvantages to that sometimes. You could run around with 80 guys in this big group, and then you get bombed. Yeah. That tends to happen. Or guys in tanks with high explosive variant turrets with big AoE damage can do that. You'll see these guys are using the defensive functionality of this tower. This was recently updated to have more palisades and more defenses and areas which could be used to give you the advantage in a defensive fight. This is a siege. You've got this Prowler right here is actually deployed as a siege cannon. That's one of its abilities, and it is, you can see it's kind of anchored to the ground. That means it fires a lot faster and a lot harder, and it is going to be shelling that tower. It's like an artillery piece, and it is pretty brutal. It's effective, though, very effective. You walk in to that, then you're going to be having some serious problems.
Yeah, looking for enemy forces there, trying to get as many kills as possible. And, you know, something you have to be aware of is, you know, if you're on the ground, this isn't necessarily run and gun, right? You can't just go shooting everywhere because you will run out of ammo. So that's something that's important in controlling, you know, certain aspects of the map where how do you get that additional ammo? You gotta control those objectives.
Yeah, you need the ability to have people spawn near you as the engineer class.
Sure,
and the whole idea of collecting those objectives is that you will make sure that your friends can spawn near you and that your teammates can spawn near you and that they will be able to bring those ammo packs along. So the game has a class system that we touched upon a little bit earlier. Let's go a little bit more in depth. Let's talk about this. This guy right here, he's invisible. Yeah, that's not a game bug. He's invisible. He's the infiltrator class. He's actually, I believe, using an SMG and then getting shot in the face, which is a common response to being an infiltrator running around with an SMG. The infiltrator is the lightest armed class and the lightest armored class in the game, designed primarily to sabotage objectives or used as a sniper. You can customize your weapons in this game to use pretty much whatever you want within reason. You're not going to have an infiltrator running around with a chain gun, for instance. That's not going to happen. But the infiltrator can be used for a number of different roles, and his special ability is cloak. So you can disappear, and it makes it extremely hard to see. That's on a limited energy time, and you can reappear at will. There are other classes, like Heavy Assault, for instance. They are the only class to carry a rocket launcher that can be used against vehicles. They also have a personal energy shield, which makes them very beefy, and they can use so-called heavy assault weapons. That's light machine guns and Empire-specific stuff, like the mini chain gun or the Vanu Lasher, which is a large energy projectile weapon. And we've got right there an engineer. He can deploy a turret, and he can also repair vehicles and deploy ammo packs, as you were saying earlier, to actually rearm and repair vehicles and troops. Yeah,
if you're not happy, of course, we have medics earlier as well.
Oh, yeah.
Very helpful in healing fellow comrades. But, you know, if you're not enjoying a particular play style, I mean, again, there's many options. If you're the run and gun type of style, you know, you go for that light assault.
Light assault,
if you're like wanting to stay sneaky, if you want to take advantage of cover, if you want to try to outflank opponents and get those headshots, of course, the infiltrator, you know, getting that sniper rifle involved. That's personally my favorite class. Just so many different options. If you know, and of course, it can depend on the environment you're currently in.
Yeah,
like
definitely the situation is so important. If you're up against a lot of tanks, you don't want snipers.
Yep.
That's not going to do anything.
No, it's not.
Get some heavy assault out. We like to call them rocket parties in PlanetSide too. You get, say, 10, 20, maybe even 50 heavy assault guys in a platoon. You hide up in the hills when the tanks roll by. That's a lot of dead tanks.
Yep.
And you can switch dynamically as well. It does have a progression system. So if you want to specialize in something, you start spending your certification points, as they're called, which you earn through battle, on a variety of different items, as well as abilities. So if I want to, say, make my cloak last longer, I will put points in that. If I want more ammo for my gun, I'll put points in that. If I want to get an entirely new gun, then I will spend certification points on that, or I'll just pick it up with the in-game microtransactions. It's a free-to-play game, which means that there's two different ways of acquiring stuff. Either you buy it, or you get it with in-game currency, obviously, which takes you a little bit of time to get. Pretty standard model.
Yeah, used across many game titles.
Indeed.
Of course,
some of them which are even played here, as it turns out.
Right, you can choose whether to, you know, spend time in game, you know, accumulating those points, or if you have, you know, some cash that you're willing to spend, of course, you can pull that out and get those things that you want a little bit faster.
Yeah, as well as stuff like cosmetic upgrades. Like my giraffe camo is something I'm very proud of. I also have little love hearts on my Mosquitoes airframe, which is really quite fantastic. Now, you know, the concern obviously pops up, pay to win. Is it pay to win? Well, the thing about it is that any direct power upgrades that you do get in-game, such as, say, extra cloak or more armor, that stuff can only be unlocked using in-game certifications. You can't just like, I want to buy 25% more armor and be awesome. Nope, can't do it. That doesn't work out. So the weapons that you end up getting are variants In fact, the standard guns are very, very effective in the vast majority of scenarios. And you just pick up the gun that you think is the most appropriate. Do you want a gun that has a slightly faster fire rate but kicks up a little bit more? Do you want one with a larger ammo capacity? Those are the kind of choices that you're going to be making there.
I'm not necessarily sure. I'm completely confident in Golden Boy's position right now. It seems like there's enemies on every single side of him.
Yeah, I think that is actually the situation, yes.
He's like trying to find cover, but it's like there's nothing to hide behind. And I think he's going to die pretty soon.
Yeah, he's being gunned down pretty quickly.
Gotta find cover, man.
How do you feel things are going so far on Esamir? Is it better than it was going on Indar earlier?
Well, if I had to go based on the content, it seems like we're doing a lot better. I'm merely just trying to snipe. Now I'm just trying to appease all my friends out there that love sniping.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to start sniping myself and try and see if I can peel a few faces. But unfortunately, it's not working out too well because I keep on getting flanked. There was a dirty VS tank trying to like flank us. Real rude of him to do that. Overall, anyone that's against the NC is very rude. You know how it is.
I absolutely know how it is. I think your biggest problem there is you used your cloaking device to get right in the middle of a gigantic group of dudes, so you were completely surrounded by all of them, which isn't necessarily the most optimal tactical move, right?
I am not the model sniper, but I do appreciate a good old gunfight. So I'm gonna keep doing that. You let me do me, Matt. You let me do. I'm kidding, but I'll try. I'll go around and see if I can make something happen, or like maybe on a random hill near the plant here.
Far be it for me to teach you how to shoot people, man.
That was literally what happened there. He like popped his camo on, and then he found himself in the middle of a bunch of people. Pulls his pistol out. All right, yeah, that's gonna work.
It can be surprisingly good to take out one guy.
Sure.
6, maybe not. 10, definitely not. No. In those situations, that's like, what if I had a grenade or something and then just take them all down with you? That works out. But Golden Boy actually has quite a history in the Call of Duty community. Unfortunately, 360 no-scope headshot is not helping him here in any way.
Nope.
There we go. There's a sniper from the Vanu Sovereignty. You can tell because he looks kind of like an alien. The designs are quite distinctive in this game. The Vanu have the most alien technology of the 3. So they're using a lot of energy weapons. They have very futuristic sound effects as well. And they've got a couple of nasty little tricks up their sleeve, which as a Terran Republic soldier, I absolutely hate.
Yeah, we continue to see these guys roaming around this facility. Lots of firefights happening here, not only outdoors, but indoors as well. You got staircases, you got corners you can hide behind. You got, of course, the sniper, the infiltrators want to be as high as possible so they can have more range over their surroundings and really try to spot their opponents and, of course, help out their teammates by spotting out opponents as well, which, again, is another key to this game.
Yep.
Helping out your teammates, making sure they are aware of what's going on, as well as being aware yourself.
Safe to say the Vanu Sovereignty has got this one pretty well locked down. You just noticed the spawn console flipped over there, so they're now going to head onto the roof here, and they will be able to continue the fight from up there. And this fight could go on forever.
It could, and
pretty much is. That's exactly what it is.
That's PlanetSide 2, though.
Yeah, it's eternal war. It's always back and forward. No one really gives up in that respect.
Yeah, guys, I really hope you enjoyed that content. Again, if you want to jump into the game, again, it's massively multiplayer, online, first-person shooter. And when we say massive, we truly mean massive. You saw it there yourself. So many different options, so many different things you can do. It's pretty much impossible to get bored playing the game. Of course, fair warning, I would not necessarily suggest just going in on your own and just trying to see what you can do.
It's probably the worst thing you could possibly do, especially when you're very new to the game. It's jumping in without any knowledge and then just getting beaten down by organized players, because it's a massively multiplayer online game. That means work as a team, get more people on your side, find an outfit, join up with a squad. Just link up with anyone that you randomly find lying around. Just invite them to your squad and then get together. It's a good way to meet new people as well, because of course you instantly go on voice over IP. You very well might actually meet someone that ends up being your friend, or you even create an outfit together. You've run into people in online games that you end up, saying, hey, this is pretty cool. I want to play games with him.